Right. It's right here. Hopefully this is there so I don't see it. All right. Just giving everybody a chance to come in that wanted to be here. So we'll start right at 6 o'clock. And it's 6 o'clock. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Ruffin. Some of you know me as the CEO of C.A.R.E Therapeutic Massage. And welcome to my journey of care yoga, where I will be focusing on um, the lymphatic system. As current calories, 219 calories. Are just talking to me. So um, I have started this journey of yoga teacher training, and I will be completing my course next month, the first week of November. And so part of this journey is to offer um, a program or a series or a session where I am talking about the lymphatic system. So, as a massage therapist, I do a technique called lymphatic massage. We need to mute everybody. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that everybody is muted. Um, okay. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I'm going to open up the line so that we can talk and do a Q&A session at the end. So I just invite you to mute your lines right now. Why is this being removed? No, you won't remove it. All right. So the only one that should be unmuted is me. Okay. So so what I want to do today is talk to you guys about the lymphatic system. So, as a massage therapist, I do a technique called manual lymphatic drainage. And what we're going to do tonight is I'll do a little bit of a discussion about what the lymphatic system is, how it operates in our bodies, how we can activate it, and then we'll do a meditation, a warm up, a couple of yoga postures, a breathing technique, and then we'll finish off with any Q&A that you may have. So if you have questions, you can jot it in the chat. And like I said, we'll open up the lines towards the end so that your questions can get answered. All right. So if you have, if we all agree, just give those of you I can see, just give me a thumbs up so I'll know that we're all on the same accord. Thank you. Okay. So um, the lymphatic system, some of this might be repetitive for the people who were here last week, Tuesday, but for those of you, this is your first time, we're going to repeat some of what we talked about last week. So you haven't missed anything. The lymphatic system is a part of our immune system and it's just underneath the skin. I keep looking over at the laptop. Let me look here. It's just underneath the skin. So if you visualize cleaning chicken, when you pull the skin off, or the skin off, there's this film that you typically see before you get to the meat. That area between the skin and the film is where the lymphatic system lies. So it's a very light touch. It's very superficial in proximity to the skin and the muscle. And its function is to release waste and debris from the body, and it's a part of our immune response. So whenever there's an injury or an infection, it's activated. It has a fluid called lymph, which is a clear fluid that has white cells in it, and it activates to help fight infection or help to relieve injuries and things like that. But what happens is sometimes when the lymphatic system gets overstimulated, um, it's focusing on one process at a time. And so it can get backed up. And so when it gets backed up, that's where you see um, inflammation, swelling in the bodies. Typically, we see it when there's lymph nodes removed from the bodies based on surgeries. A lot of times we target thinking about breast cancer when lymph nodes can be removed, and then you see swelling in the extremities. But it also can be overactive, active or overstimulated when there's any other type of surgeries. You'll see swelling in the body. Um, it's also activated based on the toxins and the particles in the air that we consume, any substances that we consume, like through our processed foods, narcotics, whether it be legal drugs or prescription drugs or illegal drugs, I should say, whatever. But any of the time that particles come into our bodies that are um, too big and the nodes need to break it up, it takes time to do that. And so when we see that swelling or that stagnation, that means that the lymph nodes need support from us in order to be activated. How do we support it? We support it through our nutrition, through physical activity. And physical activity can be something as simple as walking, jogging, or yoga or stretching. It doesn't have to be high intensity impact training. It doesn't have to be um, extreme cardio workout or whatever. It just needs to be simple movement. It can be activated through massage therapy, the lymphatic drainage technique that I was talking about. And what happens is the lymphatic system has a particular flow, and primarily the flow is towards the groin area and towards the heart, because that's where an influx of the lymph nodes are. And so when you do the lymphatic massage, you always go in the area of up towards the groin area or towards the heart. And so what we'll do tonight is I'll show you how to do some tapping to help to activate it. Because once we open up the lymphatic system, then some of that stagnant fluid that we have in certain parts of our body will be released so that the fluid can be so the fluid can go through. So one of the things that I'll give you an example of is, let's say, for example, um, a mom has had surgery, whether it's a hysterectomy or a C-section, or even like a mommy makeover tummy tuck, whether there's lipo or the tummy tuck or something like that, where there is like a surgical incision around the belly. So it's common for women to have um, swelling in their belly, and we often identify it as obesity and say that we need to lose weight. And then they want to go and have some sort of plastic surgery to tighten their stomach or to get snatched, right? And so sometimes what happens is there is scar tissue that is built up um, after the surgery, right? And so the scar tissue feels kind of rough, and so or hard, I should say. And so what can happen is the lymphatic system, the lymph gets stuck behind the scar tissue, and scar tissue spreads. So a lot of times when we look at our bellies, we're like, "Oh my God, I'm overweight," but it really could be fluid that has been stopped or halted. Like think about a traffic jam. The traffic jam will there's no cars moving through until um, like a police officer or someone who's who's managing the traffic, starts directing the traffic so that the roads can open back up again, and then the cars continue down that flow. Well, what we do as massage therapists is we do uh, uh, just had a brain fart. We do a technique that helps to we go against the grain. We massage against the grain of the scar tissue to open up to break up the scar tissue, and then cross fiber friction. I knew it was going to come to me. We do a technique called that's called friction to help break up that scar tissue. Once that scar tissue is broken, then the lymph flow comes through and comes through in an abundance so that swelling can go down and you feel better. There's an influx of fluid that's going through, and so The inches come down. So we don't really talk about lymphatic system in terms of weight loss. It's not, that's a bonus that weight can be released, but it's not a weight loss technique like the plastic surgeries are. Let me slow down a little bit. I'm getting a little nervous here. Um, so when we do the techniques that we're going to teach you today, you'll see results like um, a release of fluid. You may even see inches lost. You'll feel energetic. And how does the lymph release from the body? If we're working in the head, neck, and face region, it usually comes out through our mucus. And this is a common time to have um, sinus work done in your face or lymphatic work done in your face or whatever, because we get stuck with the changes of seasons. The um the mucus kind of builds up, and so we do techniques on our face to help release the um the lymph from our face or whatever. So sometimes we cough it out. Then in the neck and thoracic region, we'll do techniques like wood therapy, tapping, and massage to help release any excess fluid in our chest cavity. Because sometimes when the fluid builds up too much, then you have diagnoses like um, hypertension, um, diseases of the heart and the lung area. And then in the thoracic area, that's where the fluid builds up, and you have diagnoses like fibroids or diabetes or issues with your pancreas, men with the pancreas, or with your gallbladder and your appendix and things like that. And so once we do these techniques and the techniques that I'm going to teach you that you can use at home, um, you'll start noticing a release of fluid in the face. It'll come through in your urine, it'll come through in your poop, and it will come through in your sweat. And the results are typically people feel more energetic, they feel light, they may see inches released in their bodies, and they'll definitely see a reduction of swelling in their bodies. Okay. Um, is there any questions so far? Come and see if there's any questions. I don't see any. Is the inflammation in a particular area? How do you know if it's inflammation or fat? Um, that's an interesting question because a lot of times we assume it's fat, and unfortunately, when we get on the scale, especially when we go to our doctor's office, they will tell us, "Oh, we need to lose weight," and that's what makes this situation so confusing. Which is why I'm so passionate about it, is because it's not obvious. Um, Typically, when I have clients come to my office, I ask them, have they had any surgeries? Because I like to go down the lymphatic route first before we just talk about obesity. So um, if there are scar tissue, if there is any swelling in a particular body part or whatever, these are things that you can try at home to see if it works to reduce some of that swelling, and then you'll see inches come down. Um, and if you have scar tissue from post surgeries, then we work on those scar tissues. Because have you ever had a surgery and you have swelling in the body? Sometimes if that scar tissue is not addressed, it gets hard and it swells even more. And so the purpose of doing scar tissue repair or the cross fiber friction that I was talking about or whatever is to help reduce the swelling. And so if you find yourself urinating a lot or pooping a lot, that's getting the lymph out of the system. And most of the time, well, not most of the time, that urination is always clear. So then that way you can identify it as lymph and not just urine from the urinary system. The other thing too is if you are not releasing fluid, then you can start talking about obesity and fat. But you typically, when you are using the lymphatic tools and you start seeing an influx of fluid, mucus, or poop coming out or whatever, that's one of the ways that you can identify the if being lymphatic issue and not obesity. How long after the surgery will you still hold on to the lymph? That answer is case specific based on what the doctors um, give you as post surgery protocol, because not unfortunately the drainage lymphatic practitioners or the lymphatic drainage techniques or whatever, the information that they provide is not standard across the board, right? So some doctors will tell you to wear compression garments. Other doctors will tell you don't need compression garments. Some doctors will tell you to get lymphatic massage and get it immediately. Some doctors will say you don't need it at all. And everybody's body is different depending on the techniques that the doctors use. Sometimes doctors can be a little bit aggressive, and if there's injury that happens, they're going to see more swelling, and they'll see hardening of the tissue, which can be called a seroma or brawny edema, and that's typically because they're not getting worked on immediately after the surgeries. We like to work in conjunction with the doctors to encourage them to encourage their clients um to get the lymphatic work done. And the lymphatic work is so light. It's not a massage. So if you've ever had Swedish deep tissue massage, like I said, for people who may have come in a little bit later, the lymphatic system is just underneath the skin. So it's as light as if you were giving a baby a bath. It's really a light touch. So we're not talking about deep tissue work. We're not talking about pressure um, and things like that. Sometimes, if any of you have had surgeries or whatever, right after surgeries, you go to some of these people who are doing a technique and they're like scraping you and things like that. That's not a traditional, it's not lymphatic work. And so, yeah, so your response to the maintaining of the fluid is conditional based on how you were treated during the surgery. So, oh, that answers the question. Everybody's response is going to be different. One of the questions that was asked last week was the techniques that I'll show you today, how often you can do them. Lymphatic work is safe enough to do daily. Because like I said, it's a light touch, it's non-invasive. There's no bruising or anything like that or whatever. What happens is there's a lot of different things that we can do. I won't be able to talk on all of them tonight, but they're all non-invasive, non-abusive, no injuries or whatever. Basically, we'll be doing some massage strokes. We'll do some yoga poses. We'll do some tapping, not slapping. And what you relate to or what you identify with will be the ones that you do over and over again. And they're safe. These are all safe to do daily. Okay. So let's get into the rhythm. The first thing that I want to talk about is doing breath work. And breathing is important because if you have a sort of sluggish lymphatic system, meaning that you might be sedentary, you don't get a lot of physical activity in, and so you're sitting a lot, the lymphatic system is not moving as quickly as it could. The lymphatic system does not have a pump. That's something that was important for me to tell you, Because it doesn't have a pump like our circulatory system does, our heart pumps our blood throughout our body. Because it doesn't have a pump, it requires movement. So something as simple as tapping your feet, tapping your thighs, tapping your arms, moving your arms like in a marching position. This can activate the lymphatic system, right? So um, it requires us to move. We also support it by giving it oxygen. And so with the breathing, once we are actively or physically moving, the breathing helps to push the lymph through our blood vessels. So it's connected to or right next to our circulatory system, our nervous system, and it runs right along throughout our bodies. We have certain areas where it's concentrated, like in our inguinal area, which is our groin area, our abdominal region, as well as our axillary area, which is our underarms, and on top of our shoulders. So sometimes you'll see more of an influx of fluid, like in the thighs and hips, in the belly, under the arms, and around the face and neck, right? And so when we tap ourselves or when we move, then it can help to flush that lymph through the system so that it can come out of our body. What happens is the lymph nodes will help break up the particles that are causing it's enlarging to help to fight infections, but it'll help break up larger particles like foreign objects. Like I said before, the medicines that we take in, some of the processed foods, if the particles are too big, it'll help break it up and get it out of our body and return the lymph back into our bloodstream so that it can start that process all over again. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to start with a breathing technique, and I call this one the box breathing. And with the box breathing, it's 4 parts, and you kind of visualize a box. What happens is we're going to start with an inhalation for a count of 4, and then we will. When I say inhalation, I mean breathing in through your nose for a count of 4. Then we'll hold our breath for a count of 4. And then we will exhale for a count of 4. And then we will hold our breath again for a count of 4. And then we'll continue that cycle. So let's go. Taking a deep breath in through your nose. And hold it. And exhale. And hold it. Breathe in. Exhale. I'm sorry. Let me start over. We're going to breathe in. And hold it. Exhale. And hold it. Again, breathe in. Hold. Exhale. And hold. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. And hold. And we'll do it one more time. Take a deep breath in. Hold. Exhale. And hold. For those of you, I can see my my Zoom, when your video is not showing, I can't see you. So for those of you who I can see, let me know by holding your thumb up. Let me know, how is that? Is that good? Are you okay? Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So the next thing that I want to do, I brought my notes because I got a little nervous and I didn't want to forget anything. We're going to start with a warm up, and we're going to do a few yoga poses that will help to stimulate the lymphatic system. And so the particular poses that I selected were ones where it activates a concentrate an area where there's a concentration of lymphs in the body. So we always want to start with a warm up because you don't want to start moving muscles around. You don't want to start moving muscles around cold. So we're going to do a warm up first. I know you can't see my feet, but I want you to just wiggle your toes left and right, just doing a rotation, um, just in a clockwise motion, just going around in circles. And then invite your ankles to do the same thing. Sure. Did somebody need me that is? And then I just kind of like to swing out my legs a little bit and um, just rocking them up and down like such. And you can do a little bit of a squeeze, a light squeeze on your legs, as well as your thighs. And then you can bring the soles of your feet together, placing your hands on your hips. And then we want to rock around back and forth. I'm putting my hands on the ground because I was about to fall off of my bolster. Actually, let me get rid of the bolster. Okay. So you're rolling around. This activates the lymphatic tissue in the groin area as well as the abdominal region. And I like to go from right to left. That's the typical flow of everything in our body. So I go in that direction. And then I want us to rotate our shoulders. So you can put your hands on your hips. And the rotation typically goes up by your ears, forward and down. Up by your ears, forward and down. And round them going backwards. Same motion, up by the ears, back and down. Up by the ears, back and down. And next we're going to rotate our neck, invite our neck to the party. So we'll start left ear to left shoulder. And we'll go down chin to chest and right ear to right shoulder, taking a deep breath in. And when our ear returns to the left side, exhale. And once again, right ear to right shoulder, inhale. Left ear to left shoulder, exhale. All right, and return your head to neutral. Taking your arms out to the side. You want to lift, have your thumbs going up, and we're going to raise our arms, waking up our shoulders. Continue to breathe up And then we'll stop here and turn our thumbs down and go down and up, down and up. If you feel any tension in your shoulders, you can pause and shake it out. And we'll do it one more time. Thumbs up, back and forth, up and down. Continue to breathe. And palms and thumbs down and down and up. And then shake it out. All right. So our first pose of the night, we're going to do. So one of the things that you may hear when it comes to the inflammatory response is when we talk about inflammation, we talk about the term RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. So anytime that there is a inflammation, an injury of some sort, you may notice redness, pain, or swelling in the body. And so they recommend RICE. And RICE is the acronym for rest. That means whatever is injured, don't activate it. Don't use it. Give it some time to heal. Ice usually reduces the swelling. So good point. You know how, particularly when we come on our menstrual cycles or whenever we have some sort of injury, we typically are prone to putting a heating pad on that injured area. But a heating pad will heat it up. I say that a heating pad will cook it. So, like when you're at a cookout and you put meat on the grill and you put the meat on for too long, it gets tough and it tightens. That's constriction and contraction, right? We don't want that. So what we do is we put the ice on there to dilate the vessels, to open it so that oxygen and blood can circulate freely. So we do rest, ice, compression. What compression does is it will um, it will create contraction in that area. And when you create that contraction, the body is saying, hey, there's something going on over here. We need oxygen. And oxygen will notice that there's contraction there, and it'll come to the rescue, if you will, to help break up any adhesion, any tightness, to start healing that area, right? So we compress to bring oxygen to that area, to restore it, to help to reduce and break up the inflammation. And then elevation is simply restoring, or you want to take that body part usually above the level of the heart so that that fluid can start circulating through the body. And so one of the tools that we use is a yoga tool called leg up the wall. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. Literally, you are taking your bum, if you will, you have a wall right here, and you're bringing your legs up to the wall, and it's not easy to do. You got to get your butt all the way up against the wall and just hang out here like such. If you don't have a bare wall, then you can just be suspended on the floor and just holding your legs up like such. Now, granted, if you're in the bed, it's kind of weird because I can't see you, but if you're in the bed or whatever, you can put pillows under your knees, and just hang out like here if this is uncomfortable. But this is like a modification. So you may see elderly people who have elevation in their legs, and they'll put like a pillow under the body part so you can hang out like here as well. But this is sort of a way to have the fluid that is concentrated in the area of the lower body now returning to the heart. So we're going to just hang out here for a minute. Are they doing it? Okay. I can't see y'all. And breathe. Don't hold your breath. What you want to do is sort of, if you need to bring your feet down, that's fine, like such, bending at the knees. You want to have your back flat to the ground. You can open out your arms into a T formation. And lower your feet. Okay. All right. How was that? How's everybody doing? Good. So now I want you to get on your hands and your knees. We call this tabletop. This is the neutral position. You have your hands spread out to ground you and support you. And then your knees are going to be at the width of the mat. And if you can look through your legs, you should not see your feet. So your feet should be parallel with your knees. And this motion we're going to do is called the cat-cow. And so you want to make sure that you're breathing through this motion, but this also activates the lymph nodes or the lymphatic system in the groin area as well as in the belly. And so for me to demonstrate it, the first thing that you want to do is you want to round your shoulders and tucking your chin to your chest. You're going to exhale, and then you're going to poke out your hips towards the sky, belly towards the ground, and chin up and eyes up looking at the ceiling. And inhale. Round your shoulders, tuck the hips in, shoulders around it, bring the abdominal, bring the belly button towards the spine. Exhale. And then tilting the hip up, belly towards the ground, chin up. And we're going to do this for 4 more breaths. So when you curve your belly in, you're exhaling. And then when you arch your back, you're inhaling. And take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, inhale, and back to neutral. The next pose that we're going to do is called the child's pose. And what you do is you sit back, you bring you can have your knees still at the width of the mat and bring your feet together. And there's a couple of variations for this, but what we're going to do is we're going to fold our arms and place our head on our shoulder. And this is one of the poses that I call the resting pose. If you're having a hard time with putting your bum to the heels, you can just kind of separate your legs a little bit more. Your knees, excuse me. You can separate your knees a little bit. And this is a resting pose, and you continue to just breathe in and out. One of the things I like about this pose is that when you are practicing yoga and you feel a little tired or you feel like you can't keep up with your instructor and you need a little break or a pause, this is a pause that's available to you to go and rest until you can catch your breath and return to the session. The other thing that the child's pose does is it compresses different areas of the body, the abdominal area, the groin area. You guys can come back up to your knees. What it does is it creates that compression. Once again, how I was telling you how important it is to send oxygen to body parts where there's tension or where there's inflammation or swelling. So you feel the compression in the abdominal area to the thighs and in the groin area. So it activates it that way. Next, we're going to lie flat on our belly. And we're going to have our hands spread out just underneath our shoulders, close to the body. Our elbows are going to be close to the body. And what I want you to do is to sort of stretch your legs. We're going to start with the right. Just kind of stretch your leg out. The sole of your foot is to the sky. The base of your foot is pressed into the ground. And then you're going to stretch out the left leg. So it's just like you're extending your legs and making sure that they're planted to the ground, to the earth. And then you're going to just raise up, leaving your lower half of the body on the ground and raising, using your hands to push up your body, looking up towards the sky, continuing to breathe. Exhale one more time and lower your body back down to the ground. This is called the Cobra pose. And what the Cobra pose does is it activates the lymph nodes in the chest wall. So if you have any fullness in any fluid in the breast tissue, the back of the neck, the area we call the Dowagger's hump, or any excess fluid in the arms and the underarms, this Cobra pose is really good to help get the lymphatic system moving. So we're going to do this again. We're going to take a deep breath in and lift up. Exhale and come back down. And we'll do this 2 more times. When you're ready, take a deep breath in. And make sure that you drop your shoulders. So you don't want your shoulders up by your ears. And down. And when you're ready, last time, push it up. Down. All right. How's everybody doing? Thumbs up? Good job. Okay. All right. And for our, I think it's not really supposed to, no, we have 2 more poses. Our next pose, we're going to roll over onto our backs. Yeah. Roll over to our backs. And you're going to bend your knees and try to bring the heels of your foot as close to your buttocks as you can, planting your hands solid on the ground. You want to feel the flat of your back on the ground. Shoulders are going to be dropped towards the ground, and just sort of hang out here for a second and just breathe. Any tension that you may feel in your body, let it go, just breathe it out. Sort of wiggle your toes to make sure that they're planted in the ground. And we'll do another breath here. And on the inhale, what I would like for you to do is you're going to use your hands to press up the lower part of your body, keeping your chest on the ground and lifting up your hips towards the sky, squeezing your buttocks together and continuing to breathe and hold it. Don't hold your breath, hold the pose. Breathe in and breathe out and come back down. And what I'd like to offer you If this pose is not accessible to you today, meaning we don't like to use the word can't in yoga. So if you're having difficulty with this pose, you can just simply lower your legs. And this resting pose is called Shavasana. Okay. And so you can just hang out here until you can return back to the flow. So we're going to bring our feet back towards our buttocks. And you just want to feel the flat of your back onto the ground, lowering your shoulders towards the ground, planting the palms of your hands onto the ground. And you want to sort of use your palms to press you up, lifting up your hips. You may squeeze in your glute muscles and pressing your pelvic region towards the sky and breathing. And exhale. If you feel like you're shaking, you can just lower yourself a little bit without touching the ground. Breathe again. And on the exhale, turn back to neutral. And we like this pose for the lymphatic system because it activates the pelvic area, the abdominal area, and in the chest. So it gets the lymphatic system moving, or the lymph nodes moving. And we're going to do it one more time. Taking a deep breath in, going to lift up, keeping your chest on the ground, or keeping your back, upper chest on the ground, lifting up the pelvic area. And you may notice this time you're not shaking as much. Breathe in. And on the exhale, you're going to lower the lower body. And next, I want you to meet me in a seated position. We're going to keep our toes together. We're going to have our knees bent. And I just want you to rotate from side to side, like such. You may need to spread out your legs a little bit. Stop right there. Right. The next thing that I want to show you all is a little bit of tapping, right? And the importance of tapping is to help activate the lymph nodes when you've been sedentary for a while, or maybe you have a reason where you can't move around. If you've been sitting for a long time and it might be too difficult for you to move or to get on a piece of exercise equipment or to go out running or jogging or walking or whatever, but you still need to activate the lymph nodes. You still have some swelling in your body. What we're going to do is a little bit of tapping, right? So the first thing I want you to do is have your hands flat like such and just hit somewhere on your body. And you hear that sound? If you hear that sound, give me a thumbs up, right? Okay, that's called slapping. That's not what we're going to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to cup your hands like a C. Can y'all see me? They can see me. You want to cup your hands like a C. Now you may hear a sound, but it's a lot quieter. Remember, I told you the lymphatic system is just underneath the skin. And it's as if you are touching a baby. So think about that. So you're going to just tap like such. So you'll hear a sound, but it won't be like the slap, right? And then you can kind of roll back and tap in the groin area. This is at the fold of your legs. You can tap one at a time, or you can alternate like such and bring it to your belly as well. Now, the last call that I had, the last yoga group that I worked on, we're going to tap under your underarms. They had an immediate response with urination and poop after this. That's definitely common. And after the session, you want to definitely drink at least 20 ounces of water. And so you have access to this at any time of the day. Anytime you feel stressed or you feel sluggish or fatigued, you can tap it out. You can start your day with tapping. And when you tap on your face, you want to just use your fingertips, right? So you can, and you always want to go from the midline outward so you can tap. It's easy for me to tap one side and then the other, but you can tap at the same time. And you go from top to bottom. And the other thing that you can do with the face is using your fingertips with a light touch. So I'm going to show you what not to do first. You're not scraping your face, right? It's a very light touch, and you're going from the midline out towards the lateral part of your face, like such. And when you get down to the chin, for those of us who have what they call a double chin, you can just do soft pinching. You don't want to leave any marks, like such. Just grab. Sometimes there's fluid in there that needs to be released. And so this is just releasing the fluid. You're just picking it up and letting it go. So it should not, you may have a little bit of redness, but not redness because you're squeezing too hard, but you're just waking up. Uh, you're bringing the red cells and the oxygen to the surface, like such. You can also take your knuckles and drag like such. And it's a simple, soft technique. It's not rough, like such. Sometimes if you have a headache, draining this fluid can help open up the sinuses to get the fluid out, and the headache goes away. And just make sure that you're breathing while you're doing it, okay? And once again, this is safe, and I'm trying to remember some of the questions that was asked last week. This is safe enough to do every day. So far we have talked about breathing technique that we can use daily. We've done some tapping. I've showed you some basic yoga poses. And oh, the last thing that I wanted to show you is what you can do around the abdominal area to help. So like to help release some of the lymph in this region, in our midsection, right? So we've done the breath work, we've done the yoga poses, we've done the tapping. And when you're tapping, you always want to go from right to left. You never want to go in a clockwise position, mainly because this is the direction that our colon moves in when we are getting waste from out of our body. We go up the right side of our body, which is the ascending colon, and then we go across the transverse. This is the direction that our poop goes in. So then we go transverse and down the ascending colon, right? So we go up, across, and down. Up, across, and down. And if you notice, it's also the clockwise position. So we never go from left to right. So if you tap, the same thing, you can tap. See, I'm sitting up, but you can lay down to do this. So you can do this in the morning before you get out of bed. Tap like such. See, using the C of your hand so that you're not slapping yourself. And then brush it down towards the lower area. Like such. Then you can tap on the sides. I'm gonna on this side. And rub it out. My favorite one that I do when I'm watching television is I just take my love handles and just do soft squeezes. So little soft pinches. This is really good to do when you're constipated. Some of us have a little bit more pinching to do than others, but you're just grabbing and just going. And I'm still going in a clockwise position. And then if you feel like you might be stagnant in the breast tissue, you can do the same thing. But you want to keep it soft. You don't want to squeeze hard. I know sometimes during our menstrual cycles and things like that, our breast is tender. When your breast is tender, you just want to sort of milk it going in this direction, still going towards the heart. Or you can squeeze the tissue as well, squeeze under the arm. But you just want to, once you do the pinching or the squeezing, if you will, then you want to brush it towards the heart, like such. Okay. I think that's all I have for you all today. I want to stop to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have, and then just tell you what is next for C.A.R.E yoga. So let me come up to the front. Yes, the kids. So the question is, will the abdominal tapping? Oh, you want me to sit back? I'm sorry. My husband's giving me hand signals. Okay, so yes. So the lymphatic massage will help with that. The tapping as well as the rub towards the groin area. All of those things. If you feel any hardness there, typically doing the work when you're not on your period will help relieve the pain and discomfort that you may have during your period, but it's certainly helpful during your menstrual cycle. I have fibroids, and with the lymphatic massages that I was receiving, it helped me to. I can't say that my fibroids are gone, but I don't have the pain like I used to. Anybody else have any questions? I don't know if I missed any questions. If you asked a question earlier and I haven't answered it, can you ask it again?
This is Michelle. Good evening, everyone. I know last week you were showing the tapping like from the ear down. Can you show that one? That was like a stress reliever for me
Okay.
during the week that I think people might benefit that weren't on the call last week, but it's just so de-stressing. But I want to make sure I was doing it right.
So I appreciate that. And so behind the ears is not tapping. Behind the ears is you can either take your hands, your fingertips, or your knuckles, and you go behind these. Because what happens is we get it. Let me take my earrings off so I can do it better. We get a lot of accumulation of fluid in our face, right? So you can take your hand and behind the ears, just drag it down. And like I said, I say drag, but I don't mean to go deep and hard. It's really a light touch, and you can do it with your hands like such.
Down to your collarbone, right? Or
Down to your
just
collarbone.
to your
Yep.
collarbone. It's so de-stressing, if you feel tense or anything. For at
Yeah.
least that's how I felt doing it. I wanted to make sure I was doing it right.
Thank you. Thank you
So.
very much. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I did put the question in the chat, but I don't know. I guess you didn't get it.
Yeah,
When
because I
you
was away from the laptop. How you doing, Miss Joyce?
okay, um, why is it that you wake up in the morning and sometimes one nostril is closed down? Does
Uh-huh.
that have anything to do with inflammation or
Yes.
liver?
Yes. So it could depend on a couple of things. It could be about how you're sleeping. If you're sleeping on one side and you're compressing that side, um, like this morning I woke up coughing because I had a heater on. What am I doing? Oh, because I had a heater on. Sorry. Um, And so I was having difficulties breathing or whatever. But most of the time, it has something to do with the way that you're sleeping. Are you a general question? Not asking you, Miss Joyce, but like, are you sleeping on your stomach? Are you sleeping on one side? And if you're sleeping on one side for an extended period of time without rotating, there is compression in that area, so it's not getting the same activation of breath like the other side that you're not compressing.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. It's Cressida. So a lot of the yoga poses I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do them, will you be able to start your body get more flexible to be able to do them?
Yes, and the other thing too, Zita, and I do apologize for this. This I'm a little nervous, and this is my second class, but I can also show you how to do modifications so that when you can't, when so we don't say can't, but when your body is not as flexible or able to do a pose that I've shown you, then we have modifications using um, blankets, props like the bolsters and the blocks and things like that. So I will bring the modifications. They're coming. I do apologize for that. But yes, so what happens is the more you do them, the more flexible you become. So what I was doing today was giving you guys postures and telling you how they were activating the lymphatic system, but we'll bring the modifications. We'll bring forth the modifications.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you all is what's coming next with the C.A.R.E yoga and the listen to your lymph class, right? So you won't hear from me for the next 2 weeks because I'm preparing to graduate. So I graduate on November 5th. Yay!
Okay.
And so I gotta close out my projects and write up my notes and do all my little assignments and things like that. But what I'd like to do to stay in touch is I want to do a 2 week challenge, and that will be free as well. And the 2 week challenge will allow me to present a lot of information over a period of time as opposed to trying to give you guys an influx of everything at once, right? Because there are several massage tools. There's as many as 15 massage tools that we can do on ourselves to activate our lymph nodes. And then there's other poses that we can do as well. And so instead of trying to do that all at once in one class, which is not possible and we would definitely be worn out, I was thinking about presenting it to you all in short bits, right? And so what that will look like is probably a 15 to 30-minute session every day. You don't have to be here every day for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. They will be recorded, and then I will share the recordings with you. So if that's something that you will and they'll probably start the week after graduation. So probably the 6th or the 13th, just depending on how the cycle goes or whatever. So if you're interested in the 14-day challenge, either I don't know how you all connected with me. If you connected with me via email, then you can just email me and say that you're interested in it, and I will send you the registration. If you registered through Evite, I'll have your contact information, but it requires that you fill out a feedback form. You can and I'll send you the feedback form in a second. If you fill out the feedback form in the last question, you can just let me know that you're interested in the challenge as well. Like I said, that will be free, but it'll just give me an opportunity once again to get comfortable with coming in front of the camera, because this is getting ready to be career for me, so I got to get used to it. But I'm also very passionate about talking to people about the lymphatic system, because there's a lot of things that we don't know. And because, like I said at the beginning of the class, the information is not standard from one doctor to the next. It's a great way to get you all exposed to things that you may or may not know. So I will be offering tips with each class. But I do need your feedback from today's class. And all feedback is loving feedback, even if it's criticism. So I appreciate that. And I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that I needed to say. Okay, yeah, I'm hitting send on the feedback form right now. Okay, it's right in there. And then tomorrow you will all get the replay of today. And if you didn't get the replay of Tuesday, I still have that. So just of Tuesday the 10th, just let me know and I'll send I'll just send both of them so you'll have them. Yeah. So if no one else has any questions, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. So I see a lot of my clients, a lot of my massage therapy clients here. So I thank you for your support there, but I thank you for supporting me in my new endeavors.
All right. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Have a good
You're
evening.
welcome.
Thank you.
Namaste. Hey, Chris, thank you. That's Crystal, Aggie's sister, Crystal. Okay, Joyce, Miss Joyce, just send me just let me know in the feedback form, okay?
Okay.
Let me know feedback form. I saw Melissa on there too. I wonder if that was Michael's wife. Zita, did you have any more questions? You muted. Unmute yourself.
I was doing my evaluation.
Oh, okay, okay.
Now I know how to get back to it. I had to get back to it.
Oh, minimize your screen.
I got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Miss Bird, did you have any questions, or you filled out your feedback form too? You muted. I can't you gotta click on the wait a minute, let me see. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can hit paste again. Okay, so in the chat box, the one that says forms, I just sent you. Can you see the chat? You know what? I can't hear you because you're muted. Okay, I'll tell you the simplest thing to do. Send me. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm looking at you. Okay, write this telephone number down. Write this phone number down. Okay, okay. My number is 202-689-4585. So you know how to send a text, right? Okay, so text me your email address, and I'm gonna email you the form, and you can fill it out. I'm gonna do that as soon as I get your text. I'll do that before we leave. My number is 202-689-4585. Did I say the wrong number? It's 202-689-4585. That's what you got? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Ms. Joyce, you got any questions?
Nope, you've covered it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm working on my survey.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate your support.